Okay. Hi, and welcome to Business Unusual. I'm Liz Whitehead, co-mastermind at Diversity Masterminds, and I'm here with Heather Cox, my co-mastermind.
Hi.
And our guest today is Christie Lawler. Welcome, Christie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to get into what happens when business unusual becomes business as usual. But before we do that, Christie, tell us a little bit about what CJL Consults does.
Absolutely. So we are a niche marketing agency. The majority of our focus is in the food and beverage industry, and most of our clients are either national hospitality chains, restaurants, theaters, entertainment, entertainment, all of it, or they're global supplier brands like spirits, wine, beer, non-alc, stuff like that. And then I founded a philanthropic arm for our organization just a few years ago that supports the women of our business when they find themselves in abusive or otherwise hostile work environments. So we do a little bit of everything. We've got our hands in like all the pots.
But still very niche. Like you're not like, oh, we can help you, every single organization in the world. You're like, look, if you're in the food and beverage industry, we are your go-to. We are the people that can make it happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not being like, you're not one of those companies who's like, oh, we can do everything for everybody.
No, and I don't want to, because if you do everything for everybody, you're not doing anything.
You're doing nothing for anybody.
Yeah, exactly. You're hurting yourself and you're probably not adding much value, even though your heart's in the right place. And so while I recognize that is, I would love to be able to do everything for everybody, but I also don't
want to.
I'm full. Plate full.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of plate full, the food and beverage industry during COVID-19 has been particularly hard hit. Right.
Yeah. No, I sit in Vegas, Christy, so we see it. Like that's what all of our money in the city comes from, the entertainment, whether it be the hotels or the shows or the restaurants, the bars. I mean, the bars are closed again.
Yeah. Well, and they're talking about us shutting down in Texas again tomorrow. So There's that. I honestly don't see the end yet. And that's not being pessimistic. That's being realistic. And I think realism can exist with optimism. It's just, how you handle the realism. We're hurting nationally, and I feel guilty when I complain about the effects to my personal self and my family, because I know that so many have it so much worse, and I can't even imagine what that's like right now. So I'm trying to operate within a certain level of guilt. Still functioning.
Right, but how have you helped? So I know, since you said your specialty is food and beverage and your marketing, this must have been a great opportunity for you to really kind of flex your marketing muscles and say, to one of you, whether it be your beverage client or a restaurant client or entertainment, which I've never heard before, which I'm going to throw out like I know that term from now on.
I know. Well, it's like, where you dine and be entertained. So whether it's a dine-in, drinking, movie theater, or, like Drive Shack is one of my clients. So you're eating, you're drinking, and you're playing some golf, and, entertainment. It's a fun word.
Right. I'm totally going to use it from now on.
Right.
So anyways,
the word restaurant. So
what is it called?
Breastaurant.
What is a breastaurant?
It
sounds like nursing.
Like
I feel like I was a breastaurant for so many years.
Think Hooters or Twin Peaks, Tilted Kilt, where the goods are on display.
Oh, like a Hooters.
A restaurant, yes.
Oh my goodness, that's hysterical.
Well, us weirdos in hospitality.
That for sure could go.
The term for anything.
Like there is a rabbit hole that term could go to.
I I know, you're right. In some cases, I've been a breastaurant as well.
Yeah, for years I was, like almost a decade, I feel like. So anyways, so how have you flexed your marketing muscles to help your clients like pivot or demonstrate some of their other offerings? I know like both of us are in a mastermind, in the same mastermind, I guess broad group, not small group.
Yeah.
And a lot of the restaurants that are involved have pivoted to, like there was a pizza restaurant who started selling make your own pizza kits, right? Or there was, a Mexican restaurant that did like, they had like the margarita ready to go and then with the taco kit, whatever it was. So what have you done with some of your clients?
I've honestly done whatever they needed done.
Right.
So everybody had a different, like all of my clients are very different, even though we're all in the same industry. And so their need states were different. And it even came down to like the demographics of the market and how the market was affected by the virus and like complying with different state laws. And most of them shut down ahead of any government or local government mandates because they thought it was the right thing to do. And so I applauded that because I know that was not the easy choice, even though it was the right decision. I know it was hard for them. But it was, I started a webinar series to kind of just provide free content to help people through this in any way we could. And we just worked with our clients as best as we were able to help them, whether it was like helping with them with their to-go practices to kind of make sure that the quality of the food was retained and go, because knowing that when food is cooked in the kitchen, conventionally the guests are enjoying it within a few minutes.
Right.
Now we have like a drive time. How does it travel? How does it maintain how does it
reheat?
It's cold, it's heat, all of the things, right?
Yeah.
Even your amazing margarita, if you're driving home with it, because you're not supposed to be drinking it, if it's a cocktail,
cannot drink it on the way home.
Is it melty? Like, what happens to that? So the guest experience, it was a big challenge to overcome, not derailing the guest experience and the perception of quality when you're paying the same price, but you're not having the experience that you're conventionally including in that price.
Right.
So you went kind of from just a marketing specialist to an overall operations specialist. Like,
I just became a helper in any way I could. And so, I was like, literally, what helps you right now? What do you need from me? Because I'll just do it. I'll figure it out. If I don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out. We're in this together. I want to come through it together. I don't want my company to survive and my clients to hurt, and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
So another big event during COVID-19 is the Black Lives Matter movement. And so a lot of what Heather and I talk about is how we're showing solidarity for that movement, how we're buying from Black-owned businesses. What are some things that you're doing for that movement?
Honestly, I feel like I haven't done very much, to be perfectly candid. I am so bogged down and hyper-focused on the things I can control and the things I can impact. I have not stepped outside of my space enough to make a quality impact. And I don't yet know what my impact could be. My purchasing patterns, I can change that. I can affect that. I can make conscious, dedicated efforts. And that's easy enough. But I feel like being a woman that wants to create impact with everything that I do, I'm still at a loss for where that lies for me in terms of Black Lives Matter, because as much as I can sympathize, I can't empathize for visible reasons. It pains me to know that I will never fully be able to understand what that is and what that life and stress is like. And so I feel like I don't have a voice that can add value or make a difference on a large scale. So it's better to control the things I can control and focus on what I can do to affect it, because it's a very raw and painful time and situation for everybody. And I don't want to be disrespectful by adding to noise. If I can't clear the noise, I'm not helping.
Yeah. I wouldn't underestimate the power of your dollars, though.
Right.
Heather and I talk about this all the time, that where you spend your dollars are a reflection of your values. And so, I've read a lot about this too, and we don't all have to be standing up on a podium. And in fact, as you said, people that look like us, maybe it's time for us to pass the mic a little bit, but we can vote with our dollars.
Yeah, and we absolutely do that. I just feel like I should be doing more. I just don't know what that is. I'm being vulnerable and very honest with that, because I want to be respectful and admit where I'm not equipped and I would fail. And I don't want to do that and take away value from someone else that could be more impactful. So yes, I absolutely spend my dollars where I can to create positive impact. And I'm going to support any movement ever that brings about positive change and equality for any human, period. But I just want to be respectful.
Yeah. So when Corona disappears, when the coronavirus disappears, right?
Yeah, right.
And every day in the US, it's looking further and further away. What do you hope stays? What do you hope stays after the coronavirus disappears?
That's a really good question, and I'm so grateful that you ask it. I'm sure you're asking it to all of the people that you interview, and I think that it's a beautiful question to answer. The kindness and putting ourselves second is a thing that societally we've been lacking considerably, and I think most people will agree that we've been a I go first culture for far too long.
Right.
And I hope that the changes that we saw initially, and I see them waning, where all of a sudden we started to put I go second or I go third or 18th as our perspective shift. I hope that kind of starts to renew, refresh, and come back. And I think it's as simple as wearing a mask, regardless of whether or not they help. Who cares? Put on the piece of cloth. Don't understand it. If it's one tiny thing,
right,
we can all do to make strangers feel safer when they see us in a public environment,
right.
What's the reason to say no to that?
I don't know.
It,
Look, we steer clear of politics a lot because
yeah,
we don't
absolutely, I do too.
But I don't understand how it's a political issue. That's
Right?
what I don't get.
Surgeons in the OR are not politicized, and they're wearing a
Right.
protect the person on the table who's vulnerable in the scenario. So I don't understand how this is all of a sudden like a stepping or trampling on the rights. Or I think in Texas we have that whole come and take it attitude. You know, it's historically
Starts with the guns in Texas is why. Starts with the guns.
well, the come and take it is the cannon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not a native Texan, so I don't really understand it. That's just theory from being an outsider with anchor babies. But I feel like it's not about, you're being requested. You're not being demanded. No one is putting you in chains or behind bars. I feel like it's the right thing to do, right? Because the second it affects your family, you're going to wear a mask, but you won't wear a mask for someone else's family. I mean, I'm literally scratching my head because
You don't get it. I know. I don't get it either. There's certain
It's
things you're
cloth.
just like,
you're a piece of cloth. Even my kids are wearing them. They love these little ninja masks that we found on Amazon. They like wrap over the ears, and they're like those ski
that's
things
cute.
that you
Oh,
wear
yeah,
when
yeah.
you're snowboarding. Yeah, they love them. They're like, we're little ninjas. I'm like, yeah, you are. You're little safety ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can totally see that there was, especially at the beginning, there was such a drive toward the collective good that I feel like we've gotten away from, from the time of victory gardens and everybody planning for World War II. And then we kind of got away from it. And then I think this is showing us just where the individualism has overtaken. Like we need to get back to more of it might not be the best thing for me. It might not be the most convenient thing for me, but it's for the greater good of all, and it doesn't hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that.
That said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Probably the side of that. It's a basic principle.
Yeah, I do feel like for a while though we were getting this more like collaborative.
Yeah,
we're all for one and one for all. And well, it's really interesting because my sister and I were talking. My sister lives in Texas, and we were talking about it because they had like nothing where she was for a while. Like it was very low, and then they shut everything down because everyone else was shutting down. And then what happened was that, after 3 months, we're like, let us out. Let us out.
And I totally get that.
But she was like, if they would have just shifted the closing like by a month, then we would still be in the, what I'm saying? Like they didn't, kind of like how Liz, we were talking about how we can't all lose it at the same time because then there's no one to help us pick up the pieces. I feel like the states kind of should have like gotten together. All right, y'all, let's have a meeting. When are we going to figure this out? If we stagger it, then maybe we can I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously not like
I think
epidemiologist or whatever you call those, but
right. I know. And I'm
a breastaurant. I may have been a breastaurant, but I've never been an epidemiologist.
No, and I agree. And we're all like sitting here looking back being like, oh, we made the wrong decision. And I'm like, well, we made the right decision, or our government
we knew,
made the right decisions with the information we had at the time. And hindsight being what it is, there were better decisions to be made, but we didn't know that. And if our state, Texas, hadn't shut down when we did, then there would have been those horrible repercussions about being the state that refused to do what was
right.
So I think every state operated in a way, and I don't believe that any government leader ever is truly just looking for a way to cause problems. I think that they're all looking for a way to improve situations. And we're all human and trying to do the best we have with the information we have at our disposal. But being in a situation where that information changes almost minute by minute, that's an impossible scenario, no matter how many advisors and experts you're working with. If you can't predict the future and the past changed as of an hour ago,
right,
where do you go?
Okay, so you're a marketing expert. How would you do a marketing spin on a situation like this, right? Because, so one of the things that we talk about, right, is that this isn't the first catastrophe. It's the biggest catastrophe we've experienced in a long time, but companies have PR issues. Companies have, like the NFL has a lot of PR issues over and over again. There's a lot of companies that have things that come up. So as a marketing person, as a PR person, how do you help your clients spin that? Can we take any, sometimes I feel like we just need business people in charge of stuff. We just need to get them in charge of stuff. So, is there a way that we could spin the PR part? Like, how would you advise a client in a PR catastrophe situation?
So
I know I'm like, hey, I know you don't know the exact PR situation, but just pretend that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I have an example. So I took on a new client about 1.5 years ago, and they were an emerging brand with just stellar concept, amazing food, amazing drinks. And the decision makers that brought our company in to handle their marketing trusted me and knew me. They've known me for years. And I was like, so I have an idea that I want to run past you. And they were like, okay. And I was like, if you hate it, say no. But if you like it, I would love for you to let me run
it.
like full creative control. They love the idea. They let me have full creative control over it. I handled the entire process, and it was kind of a PR strategy, but it was a more, let's take a look at our business as a whole and how our business actually benefits our society. Not just, yes, we're an experience, right? Being in the hospitality industry, but what are we doing that is creating positive ripple effects globally for society? And so I launched their menu with a page called Reasons to Drink, play on words, because it was
so cute.
Menu. But every single product that was on their menu was listed on this Reasons to Drink page if their company made a social impact. So whether it was reducing, plastic straws and waste in our oceans, or clean water initiatives, or giving back to local businesses or foundations, whatever their position was, we highlighted it like, when you drink this brand, you are supporting this cause. So the entire back page of the beverage menu was not dedicated to anything that generated revenue. It generated only goodwill. But
it probably did generate revenue, because if you're like, drink, for example, if you have a company that's a woman-owned vodka company, you could be like, the reason to drink this drink is because it's owned by a woman. And when you buy a woman CEO product, you're buying her daughter dance, whatever, like all those expressions.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what it was. I had a female-owned brand on there, a female created brand. And I was like, when you're enjoying Bren whiskey, know that this was created by a female founder who had no experience in whiskey to just create a space.
Right.
So if you're enjoying this, know that you're really like paving the path for other female entrepreneurs in our business.
Right.
So, and each company has their own story, but I was very veiled when I sent it out. I communicated it so that I was like, hey, I'm working on something for this client. Would you let me know what your company does that makes a difference? Or
what's your social impact, right?
Yeah. And and I only asked once. So if they ignored my email,
too bad for them.
No presents. If they responded, I put everything in that they responded. So when I went to proofread the menu and put it back to the suppliers to review, only the suppliers that were on that page got that page. So it was until it was live. And of course, once it went live, I got all sorts of
all the emails are rolling in.
And I'm like, forward old email. I'm like, here's where I asked. Did you send a response?
Right. You did not.
I asked once.
Yeah. I wonder if that would work with my kids. I asked one. You didn't answer when I said, do you want dinner? No dinner tonight, people.
Oh.
I thought when you were saying like reasons to drink, it was gonna be like kids, pollution.
Oh. No, but see, that's the thing. Is like, it's a total play on words, because you're like, oh, I had a bad day. That's a reason.
Right. That's why I'm
thinking.
thinking.
It took something that's usually a very humorous take on a negative situation and turn it into a total positive.
Right.
Yeah. Love that page. Still so proud of it.
That's so fun. I know I had a shirt that said, you whine, like it was like the kids, WHINE, and it says I whine, WINE.
So true.
Right.
So Christie, if people want to get those kind of solutions for their business, they want that kind of creative energy, how do they find you? How do people get in touch with you?
Well, there's a million ways to find people nowadays. The best and most all-inclusive source would be our website, and that's CJL Consults, plural.com. And that's...
Wait, say it again. CJLconsults.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
And what's your Instagram? What's your favorite social platform?
We're on Instagram at CJL Consulting LLC. I'll send you guys the links because there's some underscores in there. The Witty Group is on there as just at Witty Group on Insta. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. So CJL Consulting LLC is the name of the company. The Witty Group is the name of the foundation. But our website will drive you to all of those channels.
Right.
Awesome.
One path leads to many destinations.
Right?
Christy, thank you so much for joining us today for Business Unusual. Thank you. And I will definitely put all that information in the show notes so people can reach you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me, or ladies, lovely ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about everything that is business unusual right now.
Absolutely. And we will see you next time on Business Unusual.